curious after looking at me, but I have not historically been considered a ladies' man. Feel free to laugh at that. They don't get much better. It came as a surprise to me when on January 7th, 2012, 10:53 a.m., I get an email coming over my work email. Dear Jeffrey, you probably don't remember, but we met through our mutual dance instructor 2 years ago. Jeffrey, I have a proposition for you I'd like to discuss. Please give me a call so we can talk about it. Along with that email was a photo of one of the loveliest ladies I have ever seen. And I'm sitting there at work, 10:53 in the morning, and the only thought that comes to me is, in over 5 decades, this has never happened to me. Never. You got to understand, my dating history, dating all the way back to high school, is pretty much like most of you guys. I would go out and ask a lady out. Mary, would you join me for a movie this Friday? Jeffrey, I'd love to, but I'm washing my hair. How about Saturday then? Jeffrey, I'd love to, but I'm washing my hair that evening too. I could take a hint. However, another memory came back from my high school years. A memory of a conversation with my mom. Having tried every possible way to have success with high school girls, I was at a loss. So I went to my mom. She used to be a girl. And I said, Mom, what am I doing wrong? I am not having any success at all. She said, Jeffrey, I want to tell you something. Ladies love a man who has confidence, who projects an air of self-assurance. Jeffrey, I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I'm guessing you're probably coming across as a little desperate. Boy, she had me pegged. Mom, here's the problem. I don't feel confident at all. I've yet to have a single lady say yes. Jeffrey, that doesn't matter. You learn the behaviors of a confident man. What would a confident man do? And then you act as if you had that confidence. Jeffrey, you can be anything you first pretend to be. Well, I have to tell you, at age 17, I had the same thought that most 17-year-olds had. My mom was clueless and knew nothing about nothing. So did I apply her recommendation at that time? Of course not. However, I like to think that I've learned a few things in the ensuing 40 years since that happened. And that thought came back to me. So I thought to myself as I'm looking at that email, Jeffrey, I don't feel confident, but what would a confident man do in this situation? Well, a confident man would pick up the phone and call her right away. And that's what I did. Elizabeth, I just got your email. I'd love to talk with you about this proposition. When would you like to? She suggested lunch the next week, and I said I would love to. First step out of the way, I'm meeting her. However, a week goes by, and now I'm beginning to think I'm actually going to be meeting her. So I have all the time for those insecurities to come roaring back at me. Is this some kind of prank? Does she remember who I am? Now I know what you're probably thinking. Jeffrey, what does a devilishly handsome guy like you have to worry about? Come on. Some of you are thinking that, aren't you? No. The day of the meeting comes. And I think to myself, okay, I don't feel that confident, but what would a confident man do in this position? Well, a confident man would dress well. So I dressed as well as I could. A confident man would go to the restaurant and walk in proudly because, after all, she is fortunate to be meeting me as well. So in I come, I look out of the corner of my eye and I see her. I walk right over to her. I reach out my hand and I say, Elizabeth, what a pleasure to finally meet you. And may I say, as lovely as your photo is, it doesn't begin to do you justice. Not bad, huh? She looked up at me and said, Jeffrey, that is the most charming thing anybody's ever said to me. Now, if you ask Elizabeth today what she said, she will tell you what she really said was, thank you, Jeffrey. Shall we get a table? I prefer my version. I just think her memory's gotten faulty over the years. We have a wonderful lunch. And during that lunch, I learned that, as she says to me, Jeffrey, I recently broke up with my dance partner. And I learned from Suzette that you might be available for dance. Would you like to become a dance partner? Would I like to become her dance partner? What do you think? I said. Elizabeth, I would love to become your dance partner. And so we danced. Now I have to tell you that after 3 dance dates, I already knew I wanted to make her my wife. Even though I'm a newly confident man and behaving in a way, I have to say it took me about 6 months to convince her that I was the man for her. Nonetheless, 11 months later, after our first meeting, I had the pleasure of walking her down the aisle and making her my wife, and I've never regretted a day since. And I often look back to that conversation with my mother, and I've even told her this. I said, Mother, I just want you to know, your advice eventually paid off. It may have taken 40 years, but 40 years ago you said to me, Jeffrey, you can be anybody you first pretend to be. And finally, it paid off in a lovely marriage. Mr. Dixon.